Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the studio this evening, and we are going to paint that cute little guy there, this lovely Chameleon. Thank you all for joining me on this Wednesday. I have to let you know, for me, this is my first Friday because I've taken the next couple of days off of work, so this is officially kicking off my weekend, so this is going to be fantastic. I'm using listen to that, a heavier piece of paper. This is Arches watercolor paper, 300 pound. I had pre-cut this from a larger sheet and drew this on. So that's the image that I'm going to use. The brushes I'm going to use, once again, are my King Art brushes. And the paints over here on my right-hand side, these are my M-gram paints in my color around tin, and I think I've mentioned enough brands in there to do me for a lot of time. Ta-da! I remember what day of the week it is. Natalie, welcome. Thank you for joining, Natalie. Always wonderful to see you here in the studio. So I'm gonna just jump right in, and I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. Well, before I just jump right in, I guess I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm going to put a layer of color on here, and it's going to be, if you look up in the corner at this guy, it's going to be this nice, bright, yellow-green color, right? Just a nice, bright color. I want to get that on this guy, maybe start to put in some darks, but we're going to come back and we're going to do our darks in a little bit. But I want to get started with a nice layer of green, and I'm going to try to not let my yellows get mixed up with my greens this time, at least on my palette. So I'm going to mix my yellows first and get them over there. I'm going to mix a little bit of this. Oh, look at this, a beautiful color already. Some of this Phthalo Green. I love that color. Look, it's beautiful. I'm going to use this as my first layer of color. Actually, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to wet this whole guy. I've got a little color on my brush right now, so I think you'll be able to see how that wetting process is going. I hope you can. If you cannot, let me know. I'll just zoom in with my camera a little bit here. It is a manual zoom, but it'll still work in theory. It's a manual zoom, which means I have to manually zoom it. It's on an arm, but I can manage it usually pretty well. So I've got a few people in here. I don't know if these are returning people or if these are new people. If you're new, feel free to say hi. Feel free to ask any questions about me, about my art journey, or anything like that. I love to talk watercolors. I love to talk colors. I'll talk color theory. I like talking paper. I like talking brushes. Just basically anything watercolor related. I'm happy to talk about. About the only thing I don't talk about are other media, because I had to look for a second to see. Oh, I painted just outside the lines. I don't like that. I had to see what I had drawn here. I have this leg drawn a little funny. I had to look to see if it was right. If you're watching and you see me look up in that direction over there, that's where I have this reference photo at for me on my monitor. If you see me look this way, it's because that's where the chat is on my monitor. And so I'll look over there. Liza is here. Hello, Liza. Welcome back. It's always good to have you here also. And I will say, Liza and Natalie, if you have a suggestion for a future painting, throw it out there if you would. I would love to hear what you all have to say. I have a few things written down here from last week. I wrote them right on my desktop here. Got things like beaver or a boxer dog or bellflowers. From previous weeks, I've got peonies down here. What else is down here? Penguin is down here. I don't know who suggested a penguin. I like penguins. It's a little extra color on here. I want to keep this fairly light. I want to keep it fairly loose. I'm trying to work quickly. And I'm trying not to put on homogeneous color. That's a new thing for me. I don't want all one color to be put on here. I want a variety of colors to be put on here. And I'm going to kind of darken up in a couple of places here. So this should, as we move along, this should add some darker areas and some interest to this. This is my hope. We can always adjust it as we go. It's watercolors. It's not rocket surgery, right? This is stuff we can do. It's all stuff we can do. A landscape with boats. A landscape with boats. Well, see now, to me, that sounds a lot like a seascape. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it on the list. I was talking to one of my kids the other day, and I was like, I live by the ocean. I live literally. I can throw a baseball to the ocean. I should be able to paint the ocean, but I'm flummoxed by it. But I'm going to put this down. Landscape with boats. All right, I got it. Okay, so let's see what I'm doing here. Oh, I missed Liza. Scarecrow and a crow. Halloween is coming up fast. Halloween is coming up fast. So what did we paint for Halloween last year? Liza, do you remember? I know we did like a gravestone with a hand coming out. Scarecrow. Did we do a scarecrow? And crow. I like painting crows. They're black. But you can paint them totally black without using black. And that's kind of a fun thing to do. Let's see. Liza says, I've been working on reflections in the water, and that's been fun. Good. I hope you're having a lot of fun with whatever you're trying, because you know what? If it's not fun, why are we doing it? Let's continue to remember watercolor should be fun. It's a hobby. It should be fun. It shouldn't be anything daunting. Did you do? Oh, we did do a witch. We did do a witch. So yeah, this is September. We're moving closely into October, aren't we? So we should do something harvest. Maybe we're getting into end of September. Starts harvest, right? October, we'll definitely do some Halloween stuff, and then we'll move into some holiday stuff. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, maybe. Yeah, we've got a few things we are going to need to get into a little bit. And yes, yes, if you're wondering, I am stalling a little bit. Forgot to paint a leg back here, and I'm not going to do it right now because I'm potentially going to make a back run for that. But what I am going to do is mix up a little bit of this brown. This is burnt umber. And a little bit of this yellow ochre. We get a little bit of water in here. I started doing this. Look, I got a little spritzer bottle filled with water. I can just spray these a couple of times, and that's really going to help to rehydrate these. I found this to be, I've had this sitting around for a long, long time. I just pulled it out. It's super helpful. Imagine that. There we go, and we're going to start painting some of this little stick here. Trying not to get too much into that foot. Do this, and we're going to add a little bit of this olive green into that, if we so desire. I never have too much of a problem mixing colors for a branch or a twig or something like that. If you look at them, there are actually quite a few colors mixed in there. So if you can put a number of different colors in there and maybe not overwhelm the viewer's eyes, but give the viewer enough there that there's something more interesting than just a brown piece of wood. I think that's always a good thing. Let's see. He did a boat too. Did I do a boat in October last year? Did I really do a boat? I'm not saying I didn't. I don't remember necessarily painting a boat, but that doesn't really mean that I didn't. I did paint a couple of boats last year. I remember that. I just don't recall if I painted one in conjunction with the fall. But I may have. I hope we did a nice job with it. I'm saying we because you know you guys were involved too. It's not just me. This is kind of a group effort. I mean, I'm going to take a little bit of the credit for it because I'm doing some of the work here, but it's a group effort. We all worked on it together. All right, just some lighter colors here to try and get this stick or twig that this guy's on up and running and give it a little bit of interest. Something like that. I don't know. I always think it's kind of funny to say this. My mom thinks I do a good job of painting wood, twigs, sticks, stuff like that. So I always kind of take that to heart. If my mom tells me I'm doing a good job, I'm usually pretty okay with it. You got to listen to mom. Moms oftentimes know what's best. I just listen and I go, yes, ma'am. Thank you. I think you're right. Sudike is here. Welcome, Sudike. Good seeing you again. Let me catch you up where we're at. I'm painting a stick. Painting a stick. We got this cute little guy here that we're putting some color on. Trying to make this nice and round. I did go, it went into his foot here a little bit. I think I'm going to have to take a little bit of this color off. I'm just going to dry my brush and pull some of this color off. We'll be able to go back over this with a green, and even if we can't, it's not going to matter. Nobody's going to look at it and go, oh, that looks weird because of his foot. But I think we're going to be all right. And when I say I think we're going to be all right, I'm pretty sure we're going to be all right. Ooh, this looks pretty good already down here. Look at that. That's nice. That does some life and some interest in that stick down there. I like it. I like it. We can do a little bit up here on the top, up here too. I love the stick. Looks great. Yeah, see, I listened to my mom, and she said I do sticks well. Who is Thomas Kincaid tried to brand himself the painter of lights. I'm gonna be the painter of sticks, right? It's gonna stick with me. Boom, boom, boom. It's really just a matter of dropping some color in here. I'm not even gonna say at the right spot or the right area or anything like that. It's just, let's get some color in there. Looks better than the picture. Well, now let's wait till we're done, really. I mean, I appreciate the sentiment. I hope it does when we're done. But let's give it a minute to flesh out here totally. I'm just going back between a little bit of ultramarine here. I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing. A little bit of ultramarine. Actually looked like it had a little bit of phthalo blue in it. A little olive green that I'm pulling from over here. Of course, that burnt umber that I have in the middle here, and some yellow ochre from down here. That's what's in this little puddle that I keep pulling from, and it just the mix of colors just helps everything stand out a little bit. Okay, so this guy's mostly dry now, which is good and bad. It's good it's mostly dry. It's not totally dry, but he's getting there. It gives me time to tell some more stories before I have to move on. The only problem is I'm not exactly sure what story I want to tell right now. I'm going to get a drink of water real quick. I hope everybody had a nice Memorial Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day, whatever Monday was. I think we all had. Take my compliment. I'm too old to care about being nice. Thank you. I'll take it. I spent my time, I think I told you guys last week, my wife bought me a fishing license. I've been thoroughly enjoying going back and doing some fishing. I told her, I said, it's your fault I'm enjoying it so much because you bought me the license, and thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Every time I head out there, I think of all of the times I spent with my father and my grandfather and my brother out there fishing and building some really nice memories. So it just brings a lot back to me to be out there. So spent some time doing that and just really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I hope you guys did something that brought you guys that much joy on your day off. I'm assuming most people had the day off on Monday. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I'd have given you the day off. I'd have given everybody the day off. So I'm just going to start to build up some colors in here. Tracy is here. Welcome, Tracy. Great to see you. And I know that, because I've seen a couple of them, that Tracy has a few new videos up. Liza has a question. What is my favorite fish to eat? Okay, so I don't really think it's a fair question, given my name. But I love to eat a nice piece of salmon. So good. Fresh. Vibrant flavor. Beautiful color. I mean, it's hands down. It's not even close. Oh, you love Tracy's Bob Ross. I do like the Bob Ross cup. I wondered what you were doing with that. I saw that video, but the sound was off. It was in my office, supposedly in a meeting. When I watched you and you made tea or coffee or something, you pulled out the mug, and I didn't see that it was gonna show his painting behind it. Oh, Natalie, you had salmon for dinner tonight, and you didn't call me. I would have come over and had some of it. I bet it was great. It's fantastic. I remember going fishing, coho fishing, right, which is a type of salmon, maybe not the type that everybody necessarily eats, but I remember, this is so stupid, going fishing for coho with my father, and it's always late in the season when we would go. And one year it was particularly rough. This was on Lake Huron where we were fishing. Like I said, it was particularly rough out there this year, and my father was bound and determined that we were going to get out there and catch some fish. And we went out in our little boat, right? Our little aluminum, I don't know, 12-foot little boat, whatever it was, not very big. And it seemed like the waves were as big as our boat. And, yeah, my brother and I were kind of not into it at the time quite so much. And he went, fine, we're going to go, and we're going to pull up on the beach next to our campsite, and you guys can get out if you want, and you can have some lunch, and I'm going to head back out after we have some lunch. We had lunch, and I decided I'd go back out, and my brother decided he would go back out, and we tried to relaunch the boat, and the waves were so big they came over the side and sunk our boat right on the beach. And my brother and I, of course, we didn't know how to help. So my dad's all upset and everything, and I thought it was hysterically funny. It's a great story. We still talk about it when we get together. It's just so funny. Tracy's favorite fish is salmon also, and yes, her mug changes color. It shows a Bob Ross painting when it gets hot, which is pretty cool. Liza, you're going to a fish boil and you're going to get some whitefish. Now, I do have to say, when I was growing up, so I grew up in Ohio, but my family had property up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, right? So it was about a 12-hour drive up there for us, and we would get up to the bridge, up to Mackinac Bridge, which is pretty far up there. And we'd pull over, and I don't know how old I was when we started buying it. Well, we probably always bought it. It was just I had never started eating it before then. But we'd buy some smoked whitefish, and that was so good. Smoked whitefish is one of those things that is just out of this world if you get some good smoked whitefish. Just flaky, delicious, smoky, a little greasy. Oh, it's so good. So good. So we ended up stopping there all the time on the way up and on the way back from our cabin up there to get some smoked whitefish. So, I haven't had that in a long time, but boy, if I could get some, I would be happy, happy, happy. Smoked is the best. Yeah. Whew. If you've never had it, I think the whitefish is so much better because it's a little bit oily and it doesn't dry out, but so good. I'll tell you what I'm doing right now as I'm daydreaming of having some smoked whitefish in a in a black 72 Dodge pickup truck. I still can remember the truck my father used to own. I'm trying just to add some details and beginning to darken some areas and bring out some of the contrast in the different areas as we start to paint this guy. We're just going to build up some of these areas. Right, so I know I want to go around his eye. Whoops, I just lost a paper towel. I like to set the eyes off anyway, so this guy kind of appealed to me because his eye is, quite different than the color around it. Let me do this. Let me bring up this reference photo real quickly and we can talk about it. There you can see it. It's quite a bit darker around his eye. I hope you guys can see that. It's quite a bit darker around his eye than it actually is on his eye. And that helps to set that eye off. Well, it also means that now we have the task of building up the color around everything else and then making that eye stand out a little bit. Okay, so that's one of the things that we're going to do there. And, excuse me, I'm building up around his legs, his appendages, right? He's got a little crown back there. Around his lips, we're starting to build up a little bit of color. And along with his back and his belly to give him some dimension so you can see what he... so they have some shape here. So you can just kind of see where I'm starting to do that. I'm just beginning to build up some of this color in here. This is a big old dark area back here. Just back here, and I'm going to continue to put this on, and I'm going to continue to rotate my painting so it makes it as easy as possible to do this. But you can start to see this animal come out of this first layer of paint that we put on here, right? He's going to start to come to life a little bit. We're going to start to see him or her, whichever. I don't really know. Is it a boy chameleon or a girl chameleon? I guess if they're a chameleon, they can both be exactly alike, right? I don't really have any idea. But we can start to see this chameleon start to take shape and start to come to life. And we can see the different areas start to come together as we are adding some colors and adding some colors. So here we go. And I'm watching the numbers go up and down a little bit. So anybody here who's new, I'll just reiterate, if you have any questions, please throw them out there. I do like to answer questions. I'd like to talk about stuff that you guys all want to talk about. I'm happy to talk the whole time, but I think it's better if we have a conversation. Answering questions usually spurs quite a bit of discussion, so I want to try to keep that going. I guess that's not just for the new people here, that are here. That's for everybody. Of course, all you people who are regulars, all you guys that are normally here, you already know that. And I'm happy to answer questions about just about everything. I'm not too worried about not having an answer for something or answering something, right? I'm going to put it in quotes, wrong, because quite honestly, I'm not sure exactly what wrong means. Well, it could just be a shortcoming in my vocabulary, but I think in most instances it's just an understanding that while there probably are certain ways you probably want to paint certain things, or there are some instances where there is a hard, fast rule to do things in watercolor painting, just like in many other areas of life. There are rules that are set in stone, and there are rules that are kind of set in mud. And those ones that are set in mud, we can take a lot of liberties with and make a lot of changes and have some fun painting that way. Tracy, you were excited when you saw the chameleon. What is it about chameleons that you like? And I'm asking because I was not going to paint this chameleon. I have another one that I've already drawn out, and it's not green. It's already got color on it, and it's a mix of green and red and purple. So is it the color green that drew you to it, or the animal, or what was it about the chameleon that you thought would be so interesting? And as I say that, now that I know you're interested, I'll try not to screw it up. The beautiful colors. Okay. The beautiful colors. They do have some such interesting colors. I'm focusing on this guy as green, but you are right. They have some astounding colors, and you like the animals in general. Okay, cool. I think they are fascinating. I really genuinely think they are completely fascinating. I don't know what quirk of nature allows them to, or ever drove them to be able to change colors, why they would need to change colors like they do. But holy cow, what an interesting animal that they can change colors like this. Fascinating, completely fascinating. So I'm going to drop in a little color here, and then I'm actually going to blend quite a bit of this out. I have a love of reptiles, and you kind of want, I don't know what that is, a black something there. You kind of want a reptile. Let's see, you are in Georgia, right? What, are there any native good reptiles there? Just wondering if there's anything native. I say that because I'm kind of against. I had an iguana for a while, but it's not really exotic, but I'm kind of against. Oh, Texas. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Texas. If I lived in Texas, now I'll tell you, if I lived in Texas, I don't know where I got Georgia then. I can tell you exactly what I would get. It's not a reptile, really. I don't think. Maybe it is. Oh, now I'm not sure. I would get an armadillo. I'm fascinated with armadillos. I really am. I think they're such crazy, interesting things. I truly am fascinated with armadillos. I would get one. I would raise it as a pet. I would try to train it to do whatever armadillos do. Apparently, people do raise them as pets. I think that's hysterical. But I totally would try to raise an armadillo. Let's see. I'm going to throw a little bit more color right back here. This is a little dark pit back here, right behind that hood. I can't do that one. Oh, armadillos are adorable. I mean, I get it. I totally get it. I couldn't, at this point in my life, I couldn't do any reptile. I keep getting some, oh, you know what? I keep getting some little black things, but it's not really black, I don't think. I have a sponge here that I wipe my brush on to try and get some water off of it, and I think it's starting to deteriorate, and it's not really black that's coming off. It's blue plus watercolor paint. Okay, let's see. I think we got a good start on this guy. I think he's starting to look good. We're going to continue to drop some color on here as we go. I'm going to do a little bit of work on a little bit of this brown, a little bit of this orange. I'm going to do a little bit of work on his horns up here. Oh, and I should say, Tracy, this is for you. I got out to the studio here this evening. I started setting everything up, and I was like, what's missing? I'm totally missing something. What's going on here? And I totally forgot to start up the mister. No, it's not a humidifier. It's the stuff you put water in and scent oil in, and it mists it for you. It's not a humidifier. What's that called? But I put in some of my favorite scent, and Tracy, I know that you I love that about your videos. You start with lighting a candle in yours to set the mood. I think that's fantastic. Let's see. Sadique says, my dad was stationed at Fort Bliss. We would cross the border at El Paso and go into Juarez, a Chinese restaurant called Shangri-La. Shangri-La. So you go into Mexico to have dinner at a Chinese restaurant. Why not? Why not? It sounds a little funny, but why not? If it worked, it worked. An infuser, okay. An infuser. Whatever it's called, I totally take your word for it. It's an infuser. I've got the lovely smell of spearmint and eucalyptus wafting through the studio as we are painting together. It sounds like an odd combination, but it's one I very much like. Very much. All right. Let's see. What do we want to do now? Let's get some more color down here on his tail. Is that dry? I'm gonna skip the middle for a moment. I'm gonna give a little bit more up here. Let's get a little different color up here. It helps to relax your mind. It helps it just in general. You're right. It does. It makes you feel good. Makes it feel nice. I discovered, I'm going to take all the credit for it, but I didn't do any of the work for it. During COVID time, right? I don't know how many years ago that was now. I was one of those that was lucky enough to get to continue to work all through COVID, and I had to go into work every day. And as a result, right, we were all a little nervous about everything at the time, and I would get very nervous. And my wife did some research and said, "Hey, I'll bet you if you had a candle that had this scent, it would help to calm your nerves a little bit." And I went, "Oh, sure, I'll give it a try. What do I have to lose?" And she bought the candle, and it did. It did the trick. And I've been hooked on that scent ever since. I love it. And so if I need a little relaxation out here, a little getaway sensation or something like that, that's the scent that I go to as a go-to. Michael, have you ever used limited palette for any of your paintings? I used to. I don't so much anymore, but I used to. I have lots of palettes that have 6 colors. Many palettes that have only 6 colors. Now I know that's not the most limited of palettes out there. Lots of people use 3, but 6 is pretty limiting too. A cold and a warm of each red, blue, and yellow, and you had to mix them all to figure out just about any color that you want. And when it came down to it, I didn't really miss most of the other colors. Right? Your paintings the colors didn't look exactly probably like what you thought they were going to look like, but they always look pretty good. The colors were just enough that you got the gist of what they were supposed to be, and that was as I kind of saw it, that was always enough to justify having those 6 colors. So I certainly wouldn't say I do it on a regular basis, but yeah, I've totally done it. It's totally doable, and I would do it more. Tracy, you prefer a limited palette. It frees you in a lot of ways from having to think about what's the right shade of this or what's the right shade of that. You're more worried about, am I close? I have to worry about form because I can't worry about color necessarily. I think this is my doings of it. Right? I can't worry about some of this other stuff. What can I worry about? And you go from there. And it can be quite freeing. Trying to see what his eye is going to look like here. I think I'm going to go around like that. Something like that. Oh, that little horn wasn't dry yet. I just put a whole bunch of water in there. Tracy, what is it that you like about the limited palette? Do you see it like I do? You take the onus off of. I just think sometimes you have a little bit more choices. Aren't necessarily better choices. They're just more choices. Or do you see it slightly differently? Let's see. He's got some bumps on his head over here. Let's just drop some color on there. I think he's getting there. Let's see. I heard someone say color gets all the credit, but value does the work. Yeah. You can totally say it that way. Color does get a lot of the credit for everything it does, and it does copious amounts of work for us. But yes, if you do a lot of value studies, you'll see that where your painting looks just as good or better in black and white or brown and white or gray and white, depending upon whatever color you're doing your value study in. And then you paint it in color and you go, I liked it better the way it was before, but you can't quite figure out why you liked it better. And it's because your values are better. It's because instead of relying on color to pick up everything for you, you've relied on the contrast, and you've relied on the value and the saturation and whatever other term you want to put in there to pick up and do a lot of that work for you. You're forced to mix what you need. You are forced to mix what you need. And because, let's see, it helps you mentally learn more about mixing colors on your own. You're forced to mix what you need. You've got to figure it out. And let's see, I think this guy's got a little bit of dark underneath here, right? Just a little dark pocket under here where his arm is, tucked right into his body. I don't see that on the reference photo, but I think it's there. If it's not, it ought to be. right? It ought to be. He's got this nice dark little bit of whatever's going on underneath there. There. Just showcase that arm right there. Cool. So we can see he's starting to come together, right? Starting to get some definition on his head. A little bit down here. I especially like this part here. It's darker here for his tail, right? And it's in an area where you know his body's here and you know his tail is here. And it kind of, I hate to say it divides it, but it kind of divides it so you know this is one shape and that's one shape. We have our mind has a clear understanding of it. Let's see, Tracy says, Sadika, that's why I went back to only sketching for a while. I want to focus on values. There you go. And Tracy is quite good at sketching. If anybody, I don't know how many people are here. I don't know how many people are here who haven't taken a look at Tracy's channel. She's got a channel on YouTube, and she's quite accomplished at sketching. So if you wanted to, go and take a look at her stuff. She's much better at it than I am. I will gladly grant her that. I think when it comes to sketching, I am just barely passable. I actually sat in a meeting today I sat next to my boss, which was interesting. As it turns out, I really happen to like my boss. But I sat down and waiting for the guy who was I guess emceeing the meeting, I guess for lack of a better term, who was running the meeting. I was waiting for him to show up and start the meeting, and my boss looks to me and looks down at the piece of paper that I'm scribbling on, and he goes, "Hey, what are you sketching today?" And I'm like, I don't know. I felt like saying, I don't know if I should be sketching while you're watching me, knowing that you're going to be rating me on a lot of things, but no, it was cool. It was pretty good. All I did was sketch some birds. If I sketch, it's usually birds. It takes a lot of focus. See, that's why I can't do it. I have the focus of a gnat. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. Tracy, you're a better person at that than I am, for sure. And it's not something that you can't learn, right? My wife went to art school. She's an actual artist. I'm just kind of an artist. I pretend to be one on Wednesday nights. And she always said, drawing is just like flexing any other muscle. If you do it, you'll get better at it. She's like, you may never be, Picasso or anything, but if you make a concerted effort, you'll get better at it, and you'll understand how to do it. And I think she's right. It's just that I think most of us don't give it that full effort to try to figure out how to do it, because at some point in our upbringing, we all kind of lose touch with drawing, right? We all kind of start out drawing. We're all kind of natural artists. Anyone can learn it, actually. Yeah, there you go. We all start out as kind of natural artists, interested in painting and drawing. I mean, that's why there's so many art supplies for kids out there, because kids love to do it. We all do. And then at some point, we kind of lose touch with that, and that's kind of a shame. And some of us continue on, and I'm not going to say we get better at it, but we continue on with it. Let's just say that. Let's see. It's on sale by me here this week. Liza, what's on sale? Did I miss something? As I'm looking back up there. I think I missed something. All right, you know that dark spot that I said I liked on this guy? I'm going to enhance that. I want to push that value a little bit. Right? New me likes to push values a little bit. So I'm going to darken that up. And look, when I darken that up, that's probably twice as dark as it was before. All it did was kind of enhance the interest, I don't want to say the coolness of it, but there's something about it that definitely adds a bit of interest to this. And I'm going to do a little bit of that up here. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do something a little different here. Let me blend this down just a little bit. Blend this up. Liza, what's on sale? Do we have more paint on sale somewhere? I'm hoping the answer is yes. Did I miss something? Let's see the eye. Okay. So I'm going to blend this way down. I'm going to come back and I'm going to enhance this. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to enhance this leg when this dries a little bit. I like the tail. I like the look of the tail. I don't know that I'm going to do a whole lot more. We'll see what it looks like when it dries. But I think the tail, everything from his hind leg back looks pretty cool right now. I really like it. His eye up here. Okay, so that's a little different, but I'm gonna do my kind of things. I always capture the eye. And I think I showed, did I show the birds I painted last week? I did. So one of the things I've been trying to do is try to enhance my style of things, and I'm going to do a dark around the outside and the inside here to hopefully give it a little different perspective, a little different look, a little more artistic kind of a something. But I'm gonna try my hardest to hold off and do that a little bit later. Got to run. I'll watch the rest later. Looking good, Michael. See y'all next week. Natalie, thank you for stopping by. If you got to go, we totally understand. We'll carry on without you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Always good to have you stop by in the studio and chat for a little bit. I'm going to ask everybody, where am I at? I'm 50 minutes in here. I'm going to ask everybody, if you can, it's a good time to, if you would, go down below the video here and hit that like button. Let's let YouTube know that you all like and appreciate this. Maybe even that you'd like to see more of it. That'll bump me up in the algorithm a little bit, and maybe some others can see this also. Maybe they'll enjoy a little bit of this live painting kind of a thing that I do here. So here's what I'm going to do with the eye, right? I've just made it a bit more yellower-ish. Yeah, I know. Really bad English. A bit yellower. And I want to drop some other colors in here. So this is my olive green, and I'm going to drop a little bit of olive green on one side. And actually I'm going to use a little bit of this orange. I don't want to use red. Red's too opposite side of the spectrum. I'm going to grab a little bit of this orange on here, and I'm going to paint a little bit of that on the top side of the eye here. And I'm going to let some of this run together, and I'm going to hope, give me just a touch of this blue too. Just a little touch of I'm going to use Ultramarine here. You could just as easily use... Oh, come on, give me some of that. I have to get a little bigger puddle going. There we go. You could just as easily use Cobalt or Cerulean in here. I just want to dab up this color a little bit. Right? It's mostly green. It's got some yellow in it. This blue is going to turn into a little bit of green with that yellow. But I want some darker colors on the bottom side of it. And I want to put a little bit of warmer color on this top side. Where can I put my hand without blasting everything? Okay, so just a little different color up there. And that should make his eye, hopefully, stand out a little bit. We'll do a little bit more to it, too. But you can see a little bit there of those two different opposed colors. Michael, tell us something you want us to know as budding watercolor artists, watercolorists, watercolor artists. What is your best advice, tips you can share? So my best advice is buckle up, practice. No, quite honestly, my best advice for anybody who's wanting to learn watercolor would be, 1, learn the basic strokes. Okay? They're not difficult. There's nothing difficult about the basic strokes. There's no reason anybody can't do a flat wash. There's no reason anybody can't do a graded wash. There's no reason anybody can't do a variegated wash. Those are simple strokes. And you may not realize it, but you're going to use those all the time in your painting, right? This little bit I just did here is a graded wash, right? I do a lot of graded washes. Up here, a graded wash. Down, all of this, a graded wash, right? That little bit. Learn how to do that. Master those simple individual brush strokes first, right? After that, after you get those simple strokes, then I would say start working on values. Start understanding, or start trying to understand anyways, what value means in your paintings. Okay, and Eliza, this is a fantastic question. What does value mean? Right? Where are places that you need a stronger value? Where are places that you need a lighter value? And when you say a strong value, what's the difference between a strong value and a middle value and a light value? And there are distinct differences between those. I'm thinking Culture Club. Yes. Yes. I just talked about that song at dinner, as a matter of fact. And I would even say, you know, if you're starting with watercolors, the form that you're painting is probably a little less important. It's not unimportant, but it's probably a little less important than you think. And probably the colors that you're using are a little less important. If you have the right values, that's going to overcome a lot. I think we just talked about that, didn't we? Rather than the right colors, your eye will gloss over a color that's, quote, I'm going to use this in air quotes, incorrect, right? It's only going to be incorrect to you probably. It's probably not going to be incorrect to a lot of other people or anybody else looking at whatever it is you've painted. There we go. Look at that arm. All of a sudden, now I got a little bit of paint on there. And that arm has come to life. It went from something that was very flat. Whoa, that might be a bit strong. Something that was very flat to something that all of a sudden has quite a bit of life to it. And as long as I keep this wet, I can continue to play with that. And the other, one other thing I would say is, before you run out and you buy 14 different kinds of paper and 4,000 different brushes, and I'm guilty of doing that, figure out what it is you like about the paper that you have in front of you and understand how your brush works. That is, when you dip it in the water, how much water does it hold when you pull it out? When you put it in the paint, how much paint does it pull out of the well when you pull it out? How much moisture is on there before you put it on the page? All things that are very important to know that you're going to get with a lot of experience, but you don't think about it when you've just started. Now I can keep going. Liza, I love that question. I could keep. Is anybody still here? Anybody? Anybody? I can't tell. So I don't know what happened. Everything froze on my end. Is anybody? I'm trying to see. Oh, I think I'm back. Still here. Okay. Whew. I don't know. I looked up. I was still answering Liza's question. I looked up and I saw Boy George, and I looked up again and I saw that I hadn't moved. I don't know what's going on with that. That's so frustrating. I mean, I'm sure it's frustrating for you guys too. It's frustrating for me. I don't like when things happen. And I mean, I'm okay if something happens and I do it, or if something happens and the painting is terrible, right? Because that's something that I do, but I don't like when things happen out of my control and it affects you all, because because you're all here, you're giving your time to be here to spend some time with me on a Wednesday, and I want to make that time as good for you as possible, and it's frustrating when it's not. And I have to find my reference photo. Again, I'm all jimmied up here. Liza is still here. Thank you all. Liza, Dana, Tracy, Sidike, thank you for hanging out through that, whatever that was. Seems like every 6 or 8 months or something like that, I get a little gremlin in here, and it tries to screw me up a little bit. I looked up and nothing was moving. Like, even my video sending out was done. I tried to move my mouse here, my cursor, done, wouldn't move, nothing. I don't know what was going on, but I don't like it one bit. All right, a little bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of Pyrrol Red. I've got a little splash of water right there I want to get off. And I'm going to use that very thin, maybe thinner than that, for his tongue here. A little bit back in his mouth. Got plenty of paint there. Something about like that. I think he's starting to look good. We got some details that we need to put on. A couple places here and there. But I think, as I'm looking at him, I think it's really, really coming to life. He's looking quite good. And when I say he's looking quite good, what I mean is he's looking about like I thought he would look like when I put this together in my mind. So looking about like it. Okay, so here's where I'm gonna do part of I'm gonna call, you know, Michael-fy it here. I'm gonna take some of this phthalo green and I'm gonna mix it with some of this olive green. I'm gonna make something that's nice and dark here, and I'm gonna start with that. I've got his foot wet right there, and I'm gonna put on these little spikes on his back. All right, there's one. There's one, there's one. If I don't get them all, that's fine. The goal is not to get them all. The goal is to put some interesting area out there. And I'm going to grab this color, and I'm really going to blend this down. Just, I'm going to let it go pretty far. Maybe mix in a little bit more of this green in here, right on down his back. Give me some more of this color. Right on down. There we go. And what I'm hoping to accomplish with this is to right, this is nothing at all like the reference photo will have on there. Absolutely nothing. But what I think it does do is add some visual interest to this. Right? This is I want to say, right, this is kind of a style I've stumbled across, and I think it really kind of adds a bit to what we're doing here. Add some real interest to it without being too distracting, without having to put on all of these little dots and, they're not warts, but the little bumps and crevices and cracks and everything on the body of him. I can add some coolness around the outside, and hopefully that's going to take some of the need to have that interest there in the middle. Let's see. If I had to start my watercolor journey differently, I would go with a limited palette. I have wasted too much money on paint that I'll never use. Eliza, you're saying you agree on value. Value is valuable. Tracy, you have overspent. I've overspent. I've got a whole drawer over here. I couldn't tell you how many paint brushes I have. I've spent so much on brushes. Please don't, if you run into my wife, don't tell her. Just say I've barely spent any. I've kind of gotten to a point where I'm not buying too many new paints, though. I'm really happy with the ones I have, and I want to incorporate those into what I'm doing a little bit better. That's not saying, though, that if somebody were to say, hey, Michael, we've got some paints we'd love you to try out. I would love to try them out. My first response is, yes, let's do it. That would be a great plan. Let's just try that out. But until then, I think I'm kind of off some of the paint train. The paint train. That's a good word for it. That was my problem exactly as well, watching too many YouTube videos and then oh by what was suggested. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Liza, you subbed on Tracy's channel. That's fantastic. Thank you for doing that. It's like when I can help somebody else get a little bit more viewership and help them with their channel. I think it's really nice. And what's nice about it is it helps perpetuate the community that we have here, right? We're all in it. We can all help. We can all do a little bit more, help somebody else. I like that. See, I'm just giving a little bit of oomph to his toes here. Just a little bit of something. Oh, I think he's starting to look good. I think he's really starting to look good. I probably have too large of a brush here. I'm going to come in underneath here. I want this to be a little darker here. A little darker here. Not too dark. Tracy, yeah, you would love them to learn about new channels as well. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I've gotten so much help and support from people on, YouTube, but not necessarily YouTube, many other places that I'm more than willing to help give back to somebody else who wants a little help or support, or even if they, they don't want to ask for it. I'm not saying anything about this case, but I'm more than happy to help people. Plus, the other thing is, when you help somebody, it makes you feel nice too. Michael, come on, you're an artist. Am I? I don't know. That's what people tell me. People tell me I'm kind of an artist. My wife, every now and again, tries to convince me of that. I'm just somebody who has fun playing with watercolors. Sneaka, you watched an art graph feed that came up in your channel, and your bank account is never going to be the same again. That's funny, but it's not funny, right? I'm laughing with you, not at you. It's hard not to buy in, right? It just is. It's very hard not to buy in. Okay, what do we need to do here yet? Let's see. I need some more here. Shoot, give me a little bit of this green. Let's gray that down here. A little bit in here. Right, he's got this big old tongue that's all wrapped up in here. He's ready to shoot this off at somebody. Oh, Liza, smoked whitefish is on sale. Oh, send me some. No, don't send me any. I would love it. It's been a long time since I had some good smoked whitefish. Oh, so good. So good. The only thing I can get out here really, there was a smoked fish store in the next town up from me, but it kind of went out of business. Not kind of, it exactly went out of business. It kind of went out of business by completely going out of business. It was the only smoked fish store around, which is a little depressing. Give me a little bit of this. Boy, that sepia's got, my sepia has an awful lot of neutral tint in it. There we go. I want to make sure you can see this horn. So I got these 3 that are going on there. We're not buying more paint. No, we're not buying more paint. You're going to buy more. Everybody always does. I will. I'll see some somewhere. And I'll go, I wonder what that's like. Let me just try that out. All right, couple of things that we need to finish up here, right? I got his eye. I kind of like the way his eye is looking at the moment. Let's see if I can pick this up and show you. Right? Maybe, you know what? I'm going to push that a little bit more. I like to push things a little bit. I'm going to try to push this just a little bit more. Give me a little bit of the sepia. A little bit of this ultra blue. That's going to make a lovely blue-gray. Just a little bit more back here. I realize that you're on break. Look, if I if I had my druthers, I'd have so much paint. I wouldn't know what to do with it all. In fact, I've got most of my paint at this point I buy at garage sales and whatnot. You've all seen some of the stuff I get from garage sales. It's amazing the amount of stuff you can get if you go to the right ones. All right, there we go. We got a little bit more on that eye now. I'm just going to massage that a little bit. I've got just a little tiny bit of leakage here that I don't want, but I think I can live with this. It's not quite as bright as... Ooh, maybe that's better. Look at that. Okay, I like that. Ooh, that brightened it right up. Look. Ooh, look now. By the time we get his little eyeball on there, that's going to look pretty good. Michael, tonight YouTube asked me if I was happy with their notification. Are you happy with their did they notify you I was on? That's really all that matters. No. Interesting. I know they've been sending me as a creator quite a bit of surveys and whatnot to fill out, trying to figure out if they have me positioned right, if I'm happy with how they advertise me, if I'm happy with the service I get from them, a lot of different things like that. So I'm not surprised that you might get a survey from them about your experience with their notification. I actually kind of think it's, and I know they've got a lot of it automated, but I think it's kind of surprising that they actually try to engage customers as much as they do to find out their feeling on things. I mean, yes, it is going to make them a bit more money, but it's ultimately, it helps all of us as viewers too. And I count myself in there, right? Because I certainly watch videos on YouTube. There we go. Ooh. Notification of your channel, which tells me you have which I have channel growth. Oh, wow. Yes. Good. Yes. Tracy. Let's see. Sudike. Oh, I see. Sudike said painting supplies aren't nearly as bad as photography supplies, which I don't know exactly how much photography supplies are, but having done photography for a while, I totally can see that. And totally can see that. There we go. That was a little too bright for me, I think. Just dull that lip down ever so slightly. Do the same thing here. Excuse me while I flip this over. So I've talked about this before. This is the time in the painting where I feel like I need to rush, and I'm trying to not to. Right? I feel like I'm so close. If I just hurry, I can get there pretty quickly, and that's probably true. But I try to fight that urge. But I feel it. I feel it coming on. I really do. Suduke is an avid hobbyist photographer. Eye pop. You're talking about this eye here, right? Tracy, learning about photography helped me when I was designing online learning screens. Cool. What type of camera do you use? A Canon years ago. Currently, I don't currently have one. I have it right over here. I pick it up every now and again, and I go, God, I should use this. I have a Nikon FG that I got probably when I was just ever so slightly damp. I don't want to do that. That I probably got when I was a junior in high school. Many moons ago. And I've held on to it. Whoa, look at him. I just looked up here on my screen. I think this guy's really starting to look good. He's really starting to look good. Wow, I like this. I like the way he's going. I gotta wait just a minute for this paint here in this little branch area to dry. We're almost done. We're not too far away. Let's see, Eliza says, thank you for the pearls of wisdom for watercolor. Take them for what they are. They're just one person's idle ramblings about watercolors. I think you could get worse advice for sure, but take it for what it is, right? Everybody has their own opinion on things that could and should be done. I think my approach would work out really well for a lot of people, but again, it is just my opinion on it. Everybody learns slightly differently. Everybody has slightly different approaches and understandings to things. So, take it for what it's worth. There we go. Ooh, I like that horn. I gotta make sure that these three horns up here look like three different horns. But now that I've made one a little bit darker, I gotta make this at least one more a little bit darker up here. But come on, this is such a crazy creature. What other creature has horns and can change color? It's almost not real, right? There we go. I'm going to leave that third horn just like that. I'm going to leave that like that. I think his eye is going to be dry enough. Liza, you have 54 brushes. That's a good number of brushes. That's a good number. I'm afraid to count mine. Of course, I've given away, I bet I've given away 100 or so brushes already anyway. That's not quite dry. I can't do it quite yet. Eliza, I bow to your great 54. I use about 4 of Look, I use I use these ones, right? And I've got here, while I'm waiting for this to dry, here are some of mine. Look, I've got giant ones like this. Look at how big that thing is. I got giant hake brushes like that, all the way down to little tiny little brushes. Look at this one. Like, you almost can't see any hairs on there. That's so many. I keep these ones. I'm always going to have an attachment to these. I don't even know if you're supposed to use these for watercolor or not, but these were the first brushes that I ever bought for watercolor, and so I don't think I'm ever going to get rid of those. But I've got Sumi brushes. I've got different types of mop brushes. I got, what is that? I guess that's a filbert. I guess I do have a filbert. I got a ton of flats, long handle. I got long handles. I got short handles. Oh, they're fun though. Boy, are they ever. We should have brush night. We should have a brush night. Michael, I've been here for about 4 years and I never saw you do a horrible painting. That's not true. I paint some clunkers every now and again. I just do. That's okay. Right? It's fine. It's fine. I don't have a problem admitting to painting some bad paintings, because I'll have a painting that, maybe I shouldn't say a bad painting, right? A painting that is less than optimal, right? Because that gives me the opportunity to learn a little bit. You can learn some from painting things properly. Probably you can learn a little bit more from painting things poorly, and I'm okay with painting things. I mean, I don't want to do it on purpose by any stretch, but you can learn a lot from painting things poorly and then doing some real assessments about what went right and what went wrong. I'm just going to brighten up some color up here. It looks to me as though the color on his head up here has a little too much of this olive green in it, and I want to brighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to drop in some Phthalo Green and let it do its magic and brighten up some of the areas up here in his head. Shoot, I'm going to put a little bit of yellow in here too. Sudika, you just love all this stuff. I'm assuming you're talking all the brushes and whatnot. So some night we'll do a paint night and a brush night, maybe. Something like that. That could be fun. It's quite a collection of brushes. My first brushes were silver black velvet brushes. I have some silver black velvet brushes in there, and I never use them because I just I don't. I want to like them. I want to like them, and I kind of do, and I don't want to like them, and I kind of don't. I'm torn. That's a bad brush for me. I've used it plenty of times, those silver black velvet brushes, and each time I go, I'm just totally torn on whether I think it's a good brush or a bad brush. I can't quite get it. Okay, so I'm gonna dive in here, and if I get some of this in my branch, I'm gonna live with it. But I'm gonna do the same thing here that I did on his back, and that is put in some really dark darks, and then I'm gonna blend that out. And that's kind of, like I said before, that's kind of how I've developed my style here. If you've seen much of my stuff in the past 6 or 8 months, almost a year, the stuff hanging on my office wall, there's a lot of edges that are dark like this. And it really makes for some dramatic areas. Oh, who's nature journaling? And Sudike, you're nature journaling, so you're using a lot of water brushes. Water brushes are cool. I do like water brushes. All right, cool. So look at him now. So I've really pushed some darks down here. And I think that really pops him off a little bit. And I'm going to do a similar thing. Back here. I don't want to go too far with it. I'm going to blend this a little bit. Come on, come on, come on. Before I get a tide line. And this is where, right, we talked about earlier, this is where the value comes in, the pushing your boundaries a little bit. He goes this way. Is a dark better to have in there? Is a light better to have in there? Should there be more light or more dark? Right? Does the color really matter all that much? I don't know. But I know that having some of these darker colors in here really helps to set this painting off, really helps to give it a different look and a different feel. If there were a lot of mid-tones in here, it would just look really kind of mid-tone-ish, if that's a word. But having these darks in here are really going to help to set the tone on this. There's his eye, kind of hanging out right there. And I'm going to mix this with a little bit of this green. And I'm just going to give the indication of some outline in here. It's not my strong suit necessarily. Lining. I think I'm passable at best with it. Yeah, I'm probably just going to mess it up if I do anything more. It's got a little line there. Set that eye off. Something to set that eye off that little bit, right? I want something just to... I could really push more dark going back. That set his eye off. Maybe it just needed to come around a little bit more. That set it off a little bit more. Maybe that was all it needed. Give me a little bit more color here. This brush is a little too small for this. Just a couple of hairs and some air. Just want to make that smooth throughout. All right, cool. So, I actually really like that. I think I'm gonna do one more pass down here. All right, remember this dark spot I talked about? It turned into a light spot. I don't want a light spot down here. I want this to be nice and dark. Right in there. I like that. I like this break in here between his tail in his body, and I'm not willing to let that not be there, if that makes sense. So, but I don't want to overdo too much of it, but let me just get some of this in. I like that. I like that dark right there. I don't know why, but I like that this dark is here. I think it helps. I really think it helps. It helps to define the shape of his body, if nothing else. Not necessarily his tail, but the whole shape of his body right there. Okay, maybe I'll just leave that. Maybe maybe if I do more, I'm just going to be playing with it, and I might end up not liking it. So I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to say this guy is pretty much done. Let's see, I'll sign this here. And we can do a little bit of highs and lows, right? What I used to call soaring heights and abject disasters, but really is just a self-evaluation of it. And I like the yellow that's in here, right? He's got this yellow kind of streak right in through here. If you look at him in reality, he's got a lot of yellow on him, and so I'm glad we were able to get some of this in here. In fact, maybe we should get a little bit more in here. Come on, let's just have a little fun with some of this yellow right here. Let's give him a whole, like a yellow racing stripe right here. I don't think that'll hurt anything. Might help a little bit. There we go. So I like the yellow in there. I like the look of having that dark on the outside. It helps to set him off, right? It helps to set his body off. It helps to define that shape. That is his shape right there. And you can see, like, this oval is very, very clear, and your eye's going to pick it up. You've got an oval here, and you've got kind of a triangle here, and of course you've got a circle down here. Yeah, I like that. He's got this whole yellow that just, it kind of takes your whole eye right up to his head, right up here. Shoot, just a line that just comes right up there if you can see it. I actually like the way his eye turned out. It's not perfect. It's not perfect round, and I'm okay with that. But I like the way it looks. I might actually put just a dot of white on it. Somewhere like right here, right there, something like that. Maybe there's just a little tiny bit of highlight there or something. I like the way that his tail turned out. You can really see that curly Q in there. I was worried a little bit about getting that distinct curl in there. I like that. And of course, I've talked about it so many times already. I like the dark here that gives a good block between the circle and this oval, right? This circle shape and this oval shape. I like it. In general, I like the coloring of it. I like the way he looks. I think he's a great study in here. Things I don't like so much, very few, not much. Not wild about his foot. I don't hate it, but I'm not wild about it. I think that if I spend another 10 minutes softening up a couple of lines, I think his feet probably would look totally fine. I'm not sure, quite honestly, if I look at this guy, this color is so dramatic up here. This shape is so dramatic and points me off, shooting up that way. I don't even know if I notice his feet, to tell you the truth. So I don't think it's much of a detractor. Other than that, I think he looks fantastic. I think he looks great. I'm super happy with him the way he is. And I think with that, I am probably going to call this one done. thank you all for hanging around with me through the painting of this and hanging around through that little accident that my computer had. I hope we never have that again. I think we're still broadcasting. Am I? Yeah. You can still see it. If you would, before y'all go, and you haven't done so yet, we've got a few extra people here in the studio. Go down below. I think it's down there, and hit that like button. That would really help me out. If you're new to the channel, I do this every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. I had to think for a minute. At 7 o'clock Pacific time. I'll be back here next Wednesday painting something else. I hope it'll be a lot of fun for you. I know it'll be a lot of fun for me. And if you're looking for me this weekend or in the next coming days, I have 3 or 4 paintings that I need to finish. I don't know if I showed this one to you before, but I really need to finish this guy up. I've made a little bit of progress on him, but I'm gonna do this one in a stream over on Twitch. Finish this one up, and I've got a couple of more that I really need to do. A couple of commissioned paintings that I need to probably get started on. But if not, I will hopefully see you all next Wednesday, which would be great. Until then, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And I hope that I get to see you all again next Wednesday back here in the studio. Until then, thank you so much. Bye-bye.